have like a bunch of questions that they want to know or ask. And so I wanted to extend it to those who not only do just like IVF in general, because I feel like those women too get looked at like, why didn't you wait on God? And there's
Mhm.
really medical problems that require them to have medical intervention. So I extended the platform to my interviews to medical intervention, donor conception, third party reproduction, adoption, surrogacy, and egg donors, egg donation. So, who we have on the panel today is Alex. She is a surrogate. She is currently preggers right now. This is her
Mhm.
third time. And let's start wherever you want to. What made you initially decide to be even want to try to be a surrogate?
Yeah. It kind of started more or less back in like high school, I've always, I've always wanted to be a mom and whatever. And I've like a lot of people were kind of starting to have those conversations on like, oh, do you want to be a mom and whatever. And one of my closest friends at that point had gotten ovarian cancer and had to get her ovaries removed. And like we were in high school. She was one of those girls at the time who like was unsure on whether or not she even wanted to carry kids. But for that option to just be taken away from her so young was like kind of like an eye opener for me and a lot of people. Um, and once I had my daughter, I had a relatively smooth pregnancy. I didn't find out I was pregnant with her until I was like 21 weeks pregnant. And I figured like if I can do it and I want to do it, why not? It can definitely help a lot of people who, are struggling one way or another.
Right. And when you initially decided to be a surrogate, where did you reach out to like a clinic or did you reach out to like an agency to find out what
Yeah.
criteria it means? Because I know one of the criteria to be a surrogate is you have to give birth yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, so you have to have given birth and like be raising a child of your own. And what I did for the most part at first was like research a bunch of agencies and just kind of like go through all of them and like compare and contrast what the different qualifications are, because they also can vary from like clinic to clinic and agency to agency. Um, and I found that like for a lot of them, even like my BMI was a little bit high. So then I had to start
Okay.
like losing, I think I had to lose like 20 pounds or so to make it so that I could qualify. I think most of them, the cutoff is around 32 BMI, but there's some wiggle room. Um, and then honestly, like where I really kind of dove into was Facebook groups, like match groups or agency review groups or just like informational groups, like anything. I was being nosy, I was reading all the posts, I was trying to just like suck in all the stuff I could because like you can get a lot from Google, but hearing from people is where I found most of my knowledge.
Definitely can agree with that. When I
Hmm.
was looking for an egg donor too, and I did a deep dive into social media and
Hmm.
what women did to even navigate this path. And then I don't know about you, it can ask, did you find like a tribe or anything like to assist you, or you just felt like you were just like on this island by yourself?
It was a little bit of an island at first, honestly. I got shunned a lot from some of the groups because I was on the higher side of the BMI. But again, I was on a journey of losing the weight. But a lot of people were like,
Right.
you're not going to be able to do it. And the shots that you have to take are very big shots and they're not fun. And at the time, I was having my kid's dad help me with the shots. And they're like, well, you shouldn't be a surrogate if you can't do the shots on your own. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, we all have the same goal here. What is wrong with me getting help? And so I just became like a lurker in those groups, even though like I had matched with a family, whatever, I was still just a lurker. But I turned to TikTok and I found kind of my own little tribe on TikTok where we would all be in each other's comments. And we decided to make our own WhatsApp group chat. And now it's on Facebook, but like we have our own little group chat that we've had for years now. And it's like 10 or so of us, but it's strong.
Do you think that you got this backlash because you're a person of color,
I
or
think
it was
so.
just, you think so? Yeah.
I think it's a small part of it. I mean, not even that small. I think it's a big part of it, honestly. Because I would notice it was a lot of the same people and a lot of the same people who didn't look like me. who was giving me that
Right.
backlash. And like we're just not really represented that much in the community at all. Two of the other girls in the group that we ended up making are actually also people of color, and so I kind of
Yeah.
I feel a lot more close to them. Obviously, I'm close with all the other women. They're amazing women, but like it's different when it's someone that can
Yeah.
understand a lot of different things too.
And I can definitely agree to that, that finding women who look like you going through a similar journey is very hard. Like we are very small niche of women. And I was curious to know, and that's when I found you, I was like, and I looked at your bio and I was like, oh, it's a sister. It's
Mhm.
one of us, which I love to see, and love to see that the community of surrogates is growing. We had one woman who came and she interviewed, and that was one of her things is she has like no shade to anybody who carries. She just really wanted somebody of color to really
Yeah.
carry her baby because she just felt like there was a sort of bond that she could have, with her being and going through the same things that she could
Yeah.
possibly go through because she had carried before, and
Okay.
unfortunately, she was not able to carry a
Mm.
second child, and so she was looking for a surrogate. But I think that it's important, even when egg donation, embryo donation, is that we bring it to an awareness of more of us wanting people, just like any other race that looks like you, to be a part of the journey. So I'm
Yeah.
happy for you wanted to be a part of something like that and fighting through it as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you went through the process. You got everything. You got checked off. I think you have to do what, psych evaluations.
Yeah, there's like an initial intake just to kind of get like a feel for it. Then you have to have they pull your medical records first, and then you have a psych evaluation, blood work done, and that's like STI testing, drug testing. Like it's like I don't know, they took like 14 vials of blood from me. Um, a hysteroc I always forget how to pronounce this. A hysteroc
Hysteroscopy.
yeah, that's the one.
Hysteroscopy. Yes.
You have to get that done. Um, you meet with a social worker, alone and then as well as like jointly with the parents. What else? And then after all that, then there's like the legal work and then medications.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
being that it seems like you did a match on Facebook, can you walk us through the process of how that worked as far as contracts and legality work with the intended parents?
Excuse me. Yeah. And it was a little bit different with them too. Just we bonded very, very soon. Very like, and it was amazing that that was the case. But we were pretty much the entire process. We were working hand in hand, like me and the intended mother. And so we both kind of had already been talking about compensations. And at the time, I like it was also her first time going through the process as well. I was going to be carrying her first baby. And so we were all in the same Facebook groups and we were kind of comparing and contrasting like different compensation rates and stuff that we had been seeing. And like we were honestly just kind of like shooting the numbers back and forth between each other before we even put it down like on paper. And then obviously like the lawyers have kind of like a baseline or like a standard rate for certain things, and then the intended parents see the contracts first, and so they can adjust or whatever they feel is needed. And in our situation, anything she felt she wanted to adjust, she ran it by me first just to make sure it was okay so that we weren't playing ping pong with it. Um, and things that she was raising the compensation for, she just kind of did on her own. It was just like, nobody's going to complain about getting more money for certain things. And she didn't lower any of the prices for anything, actually. I think it was more like just certain clauses she wanted to add for both of our protection. She just wanted to run by me first. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just working together a lot between parents and lawyers.
So now we don't have to disclose the price of compensation, but different things like it includes is like maternity clothes, right?
Yeah, you get a maternity clothes allowance usually around like the 16-week-ish mark. And it's more for twins. I don't even remember what's in my class. I think it's somewhere over 1,000 or so, but and then it's more if it's twins. Doctor's visits, anything like that, medications, whatever, that's all automatically paid for and covered. as the surrogate, you don't have to pay for anything. Sometimes you may have to get like travel reimbursed. Like if you're driving to an appointment, you may get gas reimbursed or something.
Gotcha.
And there's also, God, what else is in there? If you were to have like a
Now, was it so?
C-section,
Like, was your flight? Was it? Were you in the same place where the embryos were? You had to fly.
yeah, I actually both time, well, I guess technically all three times, but with both sets of intended parents, I'm local to both of them. So the first parents were like a couple towns away, the second parents are even closer, but they both were working with the same clinic, and that's only like a mile from me.
Okay, well that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's that's like for you to match with somebody on social media and y'all all be
Hmm.
right there together. Like to me, I'm like
Yeah.
sometimes even for the parents, I'm like that's God's little wink. You know
Yeah.
that's just because usually you have to fly, you have to rearrange your
Hmm.
schedule and do all these different things to get there. Because I think that what people don't realize is, and that's what I had to tell, some members and stuff like these are human beings with regular lives that have their own kids and partners and all this kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So they're rearranging, even though they're getting compensated, they're rearranging their schedule. And
Yeah.
so when there's hiccups and all that kind of stuff, they have to
Hmm.
adjust their lives too. So that was great that it was like right in town. So if you did need to adjust, it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad of like rearranging a flight and all that kind of stuff. The stress
Exactly.
brought down anxiety as well for the parents as well.
Yeah, it helped knowing that, and because that's also not only the clinic that I did the IVF process through, but it's also the clinic. It's Brigham and Women's, so it's a huge hospital here in Boston. But that's also where I'm like gonna get my OB care and where I deliver. I've even delivered my daughter there, so like
Oh,
I am
nice. So you
very
know
comfortable with
everybody.
it. Yeah, I'm like if anything
Yeah.
happens, I have no problem going up the street, and like it's the because also in the contract it has to be near or connected to like a level 3 NICU or something, or has to be like within a certain distance, and they're connected to Boston Children's Hospital by like just a bridge. So it's perfect for the parents too to make sure that everything's good for the baby.
So it sounds like you had like a really good relationship. Now, did they, because I know that sometimes in the contracts, some people are very picky.
Mhm.
I see that when people are donating their embryos and they're like, oh, you need to be certain income. And this is, were they concerned about things like what you eat and, your
No.
environment or anything like that?
Thankfully, no.
This is real life
My
situations, though.
No, seriously, I
I'm
have
sure you heard
friends
it all.
where, yeah, one of my friends in the group, she actually had her intended parents were also local to her, but they wanted her to be on a very strict diet, but they paid for all her groceries all the time to do it. They're like, which is nice, of course, if they're going to be demanding such a thing. I mean, to
Right.
cover it. Or going organic is not cheap.
It's
Um,
not.
but no, these parents, or well, the first parents, they were so laid back. They truly were like, "You've been pregnant before, you know what you're doing. Like, just do your thing," pretty much.
Just
Um,
bring us a baby home. That's your
yeah,
motivation. You gotta bring a
seriously.
baby home.
Yeah, they were super close. Like, it ended up becoming just more like a friendship than anything, and that I just happened to be carrying a baby for them. But I would vent to her about like random things that had nothing to do with the pregnancy. Even now, we talk all the time. So like she
Wow,
put all of her trust in me, and she made me feel so comfortable. Like it was such a smooth experience with her.
that's amazing.
Hmm.
So you get the first family, and baby comes. Now I did notice when I was looking at your page, and I thought that was
Hmm.
very, um, you were very sensitive about that. Like you talked about you being pregnant, but you showed no pregnancy pictures or anything like that whatsoever. Was that consciously of you doing that, or was that just like you just felt like it wasn't necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a little bit of both. Like I did some videos here and there of like a bump dates or whatever every now and then, but I didn't post pictures of them or any pictures of the babies or anything like that. It just wasn't necessary to talk about my side of the story, to involve them in it and to put them in that kind of light. They're also very private
Right.
people. Like they wouldn't have minded, but they're just very private, so I'm not going to share more than they would.
I just think that that was on because it just feels like forefront, like you're already acknowledging, like I'm just I'm just a vessel. Like this is not my baby. There's
Mhm,
nothing for me to celebrate. I'm not
mhm.
keeping this baby. And so there's no need to document even the pregnancy part because
Yeah.
it's it's just it's a part of what I'm doing in order to help somebody. So I commend you for doing
Mhm.
that. I was like, you don't have no pictures, no nothing. I was
Not
like,
a whole lot. Yeah, certain
and I was like, but I
milestones,
was
but
okay with that. I was like, that
yeah.
is so, I was like, you know what? I respect that because that just means
Mhm,
that she was just doing her job. Um, so I'm assuming that the second match was not the same family. So were
mhm.
you apprehensive of going into the next one because this one was so smooth? Did you?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I carried for them twice. And so even the second time, I was on the fence of even doing surrogacy again because I had hemorrhaged
Okay.
pretty bad the first time during delivery.
Oh, wow.
And I was on the fence, but I know they wanted more kids, and they had asked me when it was getting close to a year, like, hey, would you still want to do this again? I'm sorry for any background noise too. I live on a busy street.
No, you're fine.
Oh. Um, but they were like, hey, like, just checking in. Obviously, don't want to pressure you. Do you want to do this again? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about it. It's likely that I'll do it again. And they just we're like, okay, well, just let us know. And I ended up doing it again for them. And everything again went super smooth the second time. I delivered both of those babies on the same day, just 2 years apart. So they both of their baby girls have the same birthday. And I think that's really cool.
Oh, wow. That
Yeah,
is so cool.
yeah, the odds of that, especially since the transfer date wasn't even the same, the induction date wasn't the same, none of that. It just worked out.
Just so happened.
Um, yeah. And after that, though, I got my tubes removed. I have one daughter. I was fine with just having her. And I was like, I'm done being pregnant for myself or anybody else. And they were like, yeah, I get it. But they had one embryo left. And they were like, are you sure? Like, we want to start looking, just in case. And I was like, yeah, go ahead. You can find another surrogate. I'm happy with what I've done. And then around November, I was like, you know, maybe I'm not done. Like, I kind of want to do it again. Like, all of the other surrogates in the group were like, come on, like, why not? Like, you had such good experiences. And I was like, you're right. And I do kind of want to do it again. And my lawyer, both of the times, was actually an owner of an agency here, like in the Northeast. And so I reached out to him randomly one night. I was like, "Hey, do you still have any people like in the Boston area?" And he's like, "Always. Like, just fill out this application. We'll get you started." And I was able to kind of bypass like I wasn't able to skip any steps, but I was able to bypass a lot of the waiting period since I was able to just email him and text him directly. Um,
Right.
so I filled out the application. I then heard back from like the case coordinator. We had like a brief interview. She pulled my records. And he was like, I already have a bunch of couples in mind. Here's so and so, and gave me like brief little like introductions for all of them. And a couple of them weren't at the clinic that I prefer to be at. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. I was kind of hoping to be at this hospital for everything. And he's like, that's totally fine. I have so and so now. Like, he had a bunch of people ready, and I had worked with him before, like him being my lawyer. So he knew how comfortable I was and he knew what I was already okay with. Um,
Yeah.
and we met with a couple online. We did like a Zoom call. I mean, they're local, but we still did a Zoom call first. Um, and we kind of clicked right away. It wasn't as like we're not like best friends, but we respect each other, and
Yeah.
everything's going well so far.
So this is a new family or the same family?
Yeah, new
This is a new
family.
family. Okay. So I want to talk about delivery, um, because even though you're giving this child away to the families, how did your body do postpartum? Like, did you go through any type of depression or anything like that? Did you breastfeed for them?
So I handle
Well,
like
not
the
breastfeed, but
deliveries.
did you pump for them? Yeah.
Yeah, and because some surrogates do nurse like at the hospital too, so that's not even too far of a question to ask either. But no, I didn't like nurse or pump or anything. For the first one, I was thinking about pumping for a little bit, And it just sounded like too much to like really be on top of. And I was like, no, I'm actually okay. And that one I hemorrhaged pretty bad afterwards. So I had to be on like iron medications and stuff. During the second surrogacy, because of that, I had to have like an iron infusion and stuff to kind of be a preventative thing for before that. Um, and then the second time I had my tubes removed. So I was more so just healing from that kind of a procedure than I was like the actual delivery itself. But as far as like postpartum or anything, I do have depression. I'm not like medicated or anything for it, but so I wouldn't say it's even more like heightened postpartum. But it's just something that I definitely have to be like aware of, just in case.
Yeah.
But thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had to suffer through that at all. And
That's
I
amazing because
did,
I know like your body does go into haywire after pregnancy, and so
yeah,
it's like you're dealing with that, but then you don't see the rest of that,
yeah,
having the baby or anything like that.
exactly. And I was gonna say too, like, the postpartum like hormones and stuff lasts like I think it's 18 months to 2 years or something like that. And
Hmm.
so I've had pregnancies no more than like 2 years apart from each other. So like at this point, I don't really know what my body's like when it's not dealing with pregnancy or the hormones afterwards. So that's also definitely interesting part.
Very, very interesting because you know this is a, you deal with the hormones and everything, and then you have to deal with your regular life. And it's like most people can give you a break to say, "Oh, she just had a baby," but you
Hmm.
don't have that. You know what I mean? You did just have a baby, but they don't see that,
Yeah,
and so it's like, give me a little grace here. Little, I'm a little out of whack here, and so
yeah.
kind of understanding like how was it like transitioning from doing that to go back to your normal life. Um, did you miss any other things
A little bit,
after
yeah.
birth?
I missed the bump. Like I missed being pregnant. That's a big part of it too. Like I think like is because I have such smooth pregnancies, then like I'm okay to do that. Like that was just a big part of like what I missed during it. And like you already get kind of like put on a pedestal, so to speak, like when you're a pregnant woman. Everybody's going to be more gentle around you and, let you go ahead in front or whatever. You get like a little bit more of like a special treatment. And then like, as well as like, add this being a surrogate on top of that, like the hospital staff was like 10 times nicer to me than they even were when I had my own daughter.
Right.
And it was just very different experiencing that. And then going to afterwards, like, I didn't have a newborn with me, I didn't have whatever. So then I was back to just being another Spanish woman out on the streets, and like that was it. I don't have like a tattoo on my forehead that says surrogate. So, like,
Right.
nobody knows, it's just something that only my close friends and I guess people who follow me know. But it's weird to just have such a quick shift afterwards.
What are the most craziest questions that you have been asked about being a surrogate?
At the very beginning, like some of my friends, and like it was probably in a joking way, but they were like, "So you don't just sleep with the dad, right?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have to sleep with the dad." I'm like, the mom wouldn't, we kind of need her egg for this. Um, And, people just being like, how could you just give away your baby? And I'm like, well, that's the key word is that it's not my baby. That's kind of the whole
Right.
point of all of this is that it's their baby. I'm just holding it, I'm baking it, and then sending it back off.
Passing it off to it.
Yeah.
Um, I follow this one girl who used surrogacy, and she said that, every time I tell people, one, this is a loaded question, like you don't really want to talk about it, but you kind of want people to be aware. So you're kind
Mhm.
of in this like weird space. She was telling somebody that their child was surrogacy, and she was like, nobody asked if
Wow.
my son's father is the father, but they always ask me, am I like the mother? Like
Oh.
it's automatically assumed that, like, so what is it? Is it your baby?" And she's like, "It is definitely my baby. I just
Gotcha.
didn't carry it."
Yeah.
Um, so I've seen like that kind of a thing. So I was wondering
Yeah.
if people ask you like, "Is it?" Well, it's your thing of it's your baby. I really have
Yeah.
come to the realization that people just do not know how science works, and just like
No.
the birds and the bees talk was like very flowery, and we definitely didn't dive deep into
No.
what what putting these things two together mean.
Mhm. Yeah.
And unless you're in
It's
that space, you're like, no,
mm-mm.
this is what happens. This is what
Mhm.
happens. I'm just carrying it. It is not
Yeah.
my DNA. Even like for
Mhm.
me, I'm like, I will be carrying it. It's not my DNA. But
Mhm.
every sense in the word, this baby will be
That's
mine.
your
I can't
baby.
give it back. I can't
Mhm.
give it back. I promise you, they're not gonna take it back. I promise you that egg donor is not looking for this kid. So I mean, it's like you kind of have to explain it and break it down to people. Like
Yeah.
this is this is what happens. This is what it is, and then you have to get that cross-eyed look. Like it's weird, and it's like it's just
Mhm.
different. It's not
Yeah.
weird. It's just something you just never heard of. Just something you just
Yeah.
not used to. But if you look at some documentaries and stuff, as far as being like a surrogate and
Oh
stuff,
my God.
women have been doing this for a very long time,
Mhm. And it's
for
not always
years.
painted in the best light in the media too. So they are the most bizarre situations. They're like, "Is this what you're doing?" I'm like, "No, I promise you it's not like that."
And I wanted to debunk some myths here because I've even been on TikTok and I've seen
Mm,
like, and I'm like, I don't know if this is like a bait thing, but the likelihood of parents not getting the child, what is the
mm.
likelihood since you're in that space with other surrogates? How often does that happen?
Like, almost never, pretty much. Like, there are some situations where it may be harder, like around COVID, especially if you were having international parents, like a lot of parents are sometimes from China. It may be a little bit harder. They may need to be with like social workers or something for like a couple weeks, upwards of like I saw some people, their babies were like for like a month or so because it was hard to get the visa to get back. But like that's their baby. It's going to them eventually. Sometimes they may have other people pick them up. There are even certain clauses in the contracts that say, like, even if these parents were to divorce, that is still their baby and it would go to them still. Or if one of them or both of them were to pass away, it would go to X, Y, and Z person or X, Y. Like, it is already designated. Like, there are three different or like there's always different backup plans as far as like who that baby is going to, and it is never the surrogate. Like I'm not even
I
an
blame
option.
Lifetime for this. I really blame Lifetime for this because the way I
Yes.
watched the movie about the lady, and then it's like to debunk the myth of like surrogates. It's so many things like you hear surrogates keeping the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like like unless you're just not, which again I advise anybody. I told anybody I've had women who've used their family members. I say for the
Hmm.
same thing for everybody. Get a contract. Like
Yeah.
again, it takes the emotion out of it. It makes it clean, cut, and dry. Is
Mm-hmm.
it financial? It's emotions are going to be involved, but there's a contract in place to say that for for compensation, you're doing this. Even if
Yeah.
it's a family member, I'm like, even if you give them $10 or whatever it is,
Hmm.
you need to provide some sort of compensation. If would you agree with that? Some sort of
Yeah.
compensation to say that this is a business transaction
Hmm.
for the X, Y, and Z. And even though it may not sound like very flowery and very cutesy, it's what needs to be done so that everybody understands that at the end of this thing, this baby goes here and doesn't
Yeah.
stay here. But are there situations where surrogates keep the baby?
Yeah. And like I'm sure there is, but again, they likely didn't have a contract because, like, people can do it unethically. People can do like an at-home insemination, where they are going to be the ones like donating their eggs, so to speak, and like they're okay with doing it that way. And like they're like, oh, but I know them very well, so we don't need a contract and we don't need escrow. And then shit hits the fan and things happen. And, I'm sure that there have been surrogates in that case where like well, no, this is my baby, I did so and so, and like I'm sure that definitely happens, but it's definitely not ethical or like legal because they didn't do it the right route.
This is true, and I think what people think in their minds is this is a lot of money, and that these are some ways to cut corners.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, you know, there's just times where you should not cut the corners on certain
Mm-mm.
things because you just want everything to kind of go smoothly. You want it to be a good relationship, a good experience not only for the surrogate but also you as the intended parents, so
Hmm.
that you know because imagine the reason why you need surrogacy is for, like you said, reasons of hysterectomy, cancer, or just straight infertility issues where they've had multiple miscarriages and they're just not able to carry. And so at the end of the day, they may have spent a lot of money, but in order to really just make sure that the experience is as smooth as possible, to not cut corners on this, I have
Hmm.
seen where sisters have done that for each other, where they've done the at home thing, and she had her own children, and they didn't go through all the what you're saying, but it was her sister. She did it for her sister. She's done it twice for her sister. She actually told her sister the
Hmm.
same thing. I'm not doing this no more. I got my own kids. I'm done. I don't want to be pregnant
Hmm.
no more. And then she surprised her and said that she would do it one more time for her so
Yeah.
they could have another baby.
Hmm.
And I think it's just that process. Maybe you can tell me of just in that moment when you're going through things. It's like my body's all out of whack. No, it's the answer is no.
Hmm.
But then, like when sense of normalcy gets back into place, you're like, well, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's what it was for me the second time. Like, the parents that I had carried the first two for, they had started looking for their surrogate for the third child while I was still pregnant. And I was so excited for them. They were letting me, like, they wanted me to be a part of the vetting process. They were like, is it okay if we send you their like phone numbers and stuff in case they want to ask you questions about how it is working with us or whatever? And I'm like, absolutely, go for it. And then after I had the baby and like, I hadn't even thought about the possibility of carrying for anybody else. So the fact that I wasn't willing to carry their third baby, I was like, well, I guess that's it. Like they already have their baby, everything's fine, whatever. And then it just kind of like hit me one day and I'm like, damn, like I do kind of miss being pregnant and like I'm young. I'm now only 27 years old. I'm like I could still help another family, Like I helped one family with two, like I could help out another family. So it was obviously it was something I thought about a lot, but it was just like a quick like, you know what? Fuck it. Like let's help another one.
Let's do it. Let's do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk to you too, just in general about um, not only the process, but um, your experiences with other surrogates. You mentioned that you guys have conformed a community. Have you felt as if that community, in over the last few years, have grown over time? Have you felt like that has been the reason why? Because I've now seen, and I don't know if it's like a thing of like, how you have like a certain brand of a car, you never see it, but then you get the brand of car and then you see it everywhere.
Mhm.
So, do you feel like there's more of women of color now in the space of
Mhm.
surrogacy?
I think so. Or I think honestly, it could be like you said, it's just now I'm seeing it more. Because before I became a surrogate, like no type of like infertility TikTok was even on my For You page, even in the slightest. And then obviously I'm looking up things, I'm trying to find people going through the same things as me. I'm looking for advice, I'm following as many people as I can. And little by little, I'm finding more and more. Um, Two of them I still talk to, like, on a regular basis. A couple of them have had not the best experiences and have kind of just, like, stepped away from social media. And as of lately, I'm seeing a couple more also come to the forefront, and we've been, like, chatting more too, and, like, so I am starting to see more of it, and it's really refreshing, because not even just as a surrogate, but just as a pregnant woman, like, Black women experience a different shade of that, like from the doctors and stuff. So like
Yeah.
it's different when we're addressing our issues as a pregnant woman than like another person would. So it's nice to
Right.
have that other sense of community. And there are Facebook groups for specifically women of color surrogates, but they aren't the most active. So I find when I'm like reaching out to people, like I will literally, if I'm talking to you enough on TikTok and like you're also a surrogate and whatever, I'll just be like, "Hey, we have this group chat. You want to join us?" Like, I'm trying to get as many people as possible who are like,
Over
could use the help. Because it's all from people who are like first time surrogates. And like, I'm not the only third time surrogate in there. So, like, there's so many different stories to tell there. So, like, I'm trying to get as many people in there as possible.
what other you said that you mentioned that others had like a bad experience. What experience did they go through as being a surrogate that you didn't experience?
They had a lot of failed transfers. I'm very fortunate in that I have had successful transfers each time the first time. But not everybody's like that. And that's just the reality of it. And it's not always the fault of the surrogate. Sometimes the egg quality, sometimes things happen in transport, sometimes things happen when it's defrosting, like anything can happen really. And so she had a couple, I think she had two failed transfers and one miscarriage. And I think it was just a lot for her, and she just stepped away from social media as a whole. I don't blame her at all. It's a lot.
It definitely can be a lot because here you are thinking, especially if you had your own successful pregnancies and then you do it for somebody else. I'm sure
Mhm,
just consciously you feel like you've been approved for something and you failed at it. And I think that women of color are probably the most hardest on ourselves when we can't
mhm,
do anything because we just feel like, or just been told like we're strong and we can do anything. And then when we
mhm.
can't, it's just like a low blow of saying like, I'm supposed to be helping these people and now
Yeah.
I can't. So I can definitely understand the emotional toll. And I think that's something that people don't always think about. We can talk about medical intervention, and everybody says it's so flowery. Like,
Mhm,
oh, when I was doing, doing IVF, oh, such and such, they had twins, and like you hear all these stories, and I'm like, yeah, because nobody talks about, 4 or 5, 6 failed,
mhm.
transfers or miscarriages, and that
Yeah.
how much of a toll it can actually take, not only
Mhm.
on your body but your mind as well.
Yeah.
And that can also send you into some sort of like tailspin, and uh, now you're basically taking on problems that if you not have been a surrogate, those problems wouldn't exist. So I don't
Mhm.
blame her for doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned that you did independent and now you're doing agency. Which one would you, if I'm a first time surrogate, what would you suggest that I go with the route?
It's kind of hard. Like, I personally prefer independent. I found that I was able to have a lot deeper of a connection with the parents, or specifically the intended mother, because I was able to like every step of the way, we were working hand in hand on everything. There was no middleman, there was no extra people we had to keep in the loop other than ourselves and the doctors. And like at any given moment, we were the ones messaging people. We were constantly in the loop. Like we were basically one machine just working as a unit, and like it felt effortless. Whereas this time with an agency, it feels like there's a lot more of the hurry up and wait moments. It feels like there's more people I have to keep in the loop who I feel like should already be in the loop. Like I signed a HIPAA um like agreement with the agency as well as with the hospital. And I felt like that would be enough for everybody to be in the loop without me having to do that. And like having people message me on either end to get information from either people, like is just extra steps that I feel like shouldn't be like had. Um, and I'm the type of person who likes to be in the know at all times. I don't want to rush anybody, but like I want to know what's going on. If even if what's
Right.
going on is we're just waiting to hear back from somebody, I want to know that. I don't want to feel like I'm bothering you to like message you, even if I'm not and you've never expressed that I'm bothering you. It just feels like I am to like constantly have to reach out. Um, So for me personally, I would prefer independent, but I can see how somebody, if they don't need to be as hands-on, how they would appreciate that and how they would appreciate the extra people in their corner that they can reach out to. They would appreciate having that sort of mediator where if things do go wrong, because there are so many stories where they do between the parents and the
Right.
surrogates, you then don't have to communicate directly to them. You have a mediator where it can go directly through the agency and you don't have to do that. Where with me going independent, if things went wrong, it's still just me and them, you know?
So when
There's
you
pros
say
and
like
cons.
waiting, like the hurry up and wait, do you mean like they would talk to the intended parents first, like your beta results, like they had to talk to them and then they
They
would tell you,
They
or
actually talk to me more than they do the parents. Like, the hospital will give me the results, and then sometimes they'll respond to or message the parents, but then sometimes the parents are like, "Hey, so how's everything going?" And I'm like, "I thought they were supposed to call you, but yeah, here are the results." And then they're li even for the transfer day, they didn't know what time they had to be there for transfer day up until, like, even the day before. Because, like, the way this clinic works, though, is that they set, like, a day, but they don't give you the time until the day before.
right,
And they
right,
had called me around 11 in the morning the day before to tell me what time I had to go in, and the parents messaged me around, like, 5, 6 PM. They're like, "Hey, so did you hear anything?" And I'm like, "Why have they not contacted you?" Like, and before, because it was just me and the parents, by default, I was already messaging them. Like, I was just like, "Oh, hey, are you so excited for tomorrow at whatever time?" And like, because she picked me up for every appointment, even for blood work, for anything. The intended mother picked me up and we went together. So it was
is
just,
that
I,
because the contract says like you're under the pressure that
mm-mm.
they would let them know this, or just that you just figured that since you were going through that they would tell them everything?
Yeah, I just figured since like there was the hospital and the coordinators with the agency, like I figured somebody was gonna let them know, like, it's their baby that's being transferred. Like, why would they not be the second person or even the first person you would call? So it was just weird. And
Exactly.
we both were talking about it during the transfer day of like how it was frustrating. um, and then with the betas, like I got the beta results, and then they did call the parents with them, but they didn't let the coordinator know. And the coordinator then was emailing me and the hospital on like a thing, like trying to figure things out. And I was like, why, why didn't they just tell you guys this? Like, there's just, I don't know. It's not running like a smooth machine. It's just a lot of
Right.
bumps.
So just so we'll know, since we've talked about like the pregnancy part, and then we can segue. So after birth, and I know this is probably state dependent, but what is it like when you give birth? Like, how do they do the birth certificate? Like,
Mm.
and how do they handle all that? So when you deliver, is there certain protocols like who holds the baby first, or you know
Yeah.
how things transpire? Is that all done in your contract too as well?
Some of it, yeah. Some of that's discussed in the contract. Some of it is discussed later on in the pregnancy during like the birthing plan, as far as like who holds the baby first, like things like that. Um, and then things like with the birth certificate, that is determined by either a pre-birth order or a post-birth order, and that's what's dependent on the state. My state does pre-birth orders, so around I want to say like 25-ish weeks or so. We do a pre-birth order, which is just like another smaller contract, just making sure that I'm signing away all rights, that I'm not related to the baby, it's not mine, they're the parents and whatever. And that's a very smooth process. And
Does the
that basically.
hospital does the
Mhm.
hospital remember this stuff? Like, do they acknowledge like who is who? I've heard stories of hospitals not reading the documents and realizing that this is a surrogate situation.
Yeah,
Was the hospital that you were in, were they really good about understanding who was mom and dad and who was the surrogate?
not
It
the
could be
best. Yeah, no,
bad.
they weren't the best. Like there were definitely people that were like, "Okay, mom, so I'm just here to draw your blood." And I'm like, A lot of times, and, like, even same with people, like, congratulating me on the pregnancy. A lot of times, it wasn't even worth it. The mom was sitting next to me and would laugh about it with me, and we're just like, "Here we go," like, whatever. But for the nurse who was, like, assigned to us for the whole time, they if they made a comment like that, we would correct them right away and whatever, and, like, it says it on the whiteboard, like, "Surrogate, so and so's baby," whatever. And some people still just don't think, they're just in there for a quick in and out. And some people make an even bigger deal about it. Like, you'll notice a little bit more of like foot traffic. Like, people come and be like, "Oh my God, I heard you were a surrogate. I've never met one before. I had to just come in and say hi." And I'm like, "All right, lady, like these contractions are getting pretty intense now." But oh
That's,
God.
now is not the time. Now is not the
No,
time.
not at all.
Yeah, I definitely have heard that some hospitals are just people just, and I mean, that's just being human beings. And I'm
Hmm.
glad that you guys were all just able to take it in like it was a no offense type of situation and
Yeah.
correcting it when it needs to be corrected. I think at
Hmm.
the end of the day, these type of situations don't happen every day. Now they do happen, but they
Hmm.
don't happen every day. And I think the assumption is that whoever is pregnant is keeping it, but you know, just to be aware for anybody who is doing surrogacy, just to give a little grace on those type of things that, listen, even when I go, to the doctor because I have fertility issues, the first thing they asked me was, when is your last cycle? And I'm like, I, I don't get a cycle. It's like
Hmm.
they just ask those questions. And then, like, I think I
Hmm.
saw a TikTok where it was like, we need, the way they make you do pregnancy tests. We can do a pregnancy test all you want to. Ain't no baby in there. We still got to
Hmm.
take a pregnancy test. The way y'all be itching for us to take a pregnancy test, I'm like, listen, I promise you, I am not pregnant.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, those type of things, I wish that our providers would be a lot more sensitive to those
Yeah.
things because we all are not cut and dry on how we get our children and stop asking
Mhm.
these questions. Like, if you could please just read my chart, and the chart
Yeah.
says in there, because I have a set. If you could please put in my chart to stop asking me when I get a cycle. It is not
Mhm.
a good thing for you to ask me. Like, I don't like it. All right.
Yeah.
I ain't seen my period. I haven't seen it. I don't know where she is. I
Mm-mm.
haven't asked for it either. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. So if I'm good, y'all need to be good about it. Like, oh, you're gonna
Mhm.
have something. I understand how old I am. I still ain't seen it. Okay,
Mm-mm.
I ain't seen it. I don't know where she at.
Yep.
All right, I've been on a lot of medication. I've done a lot of fertility treatments. At this point, she figures that she don't even need to be here no more, and I'm
Mm.
okay with that. Y'all should be okay with that too.
Real. Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's just like we just need. I wish that our providers would be a lot more sensitive to these different type of situations. Read the
Yeah.
chart and understand that just because you guys were understanding about it, all families, really want to be acknowledged that this is the situation that they're in, and that it's okay,
Mhm.
not to, acknowledge, who the mother is and the surrogate for what she's doing. So my last question for you is, um, I am interested in being a surrogate, and I might have last two questions. What advice would you give a young lady who is wanting to be a surrogate?
Um, I guess the two biggest pieces of advice I would give is to be patient. Not everybody's timeline is going to look the same. You can look up as many surrogate timelines as you want, but everyone's story is different. There's going to be different bumps in the road that nobody can anticipate, and it's okay. Things happen, and as long as the end goal is what we're aiming for, you're going to get there eventually, even if it means rematching with a different family or whatever. Um, yeah, just be patient and have a good support system because to kind of like double down on that, like there are going to be certain things that come up we can't anticipate whether it's within our own body, within dealing with the parents or doctors, any sort of conflict or anything. You're going to need a huge support system for it. Pregnancy is hard as it is, and then you're adding in that extra factor of a whole other set of people who are able to kind of have some sort of say over what's happening to your body at the time. You're going to need a lot of support for that.
That's a very good advice. So usually when I talk about my last question is I talk about bond. So this is a little bit different because you just did a beautiful gift for someone. Um, but I feel like you keep in touch with her. Is there a sense of bondness that you have, even though this child is not with you anymore? Is there a sense of like you feel connected in a certain way, spiritual or anything, to this child, to these children at this point, children that you have have carried and given this wonderful parent gift to their parents?
Yeah. I would say in a way, yeah, but it's in the same way as I would if like my best friend had a baby. Like me and the parents have grown such a strong bond. We still talk even now, like at least once a week or so. Um, and it's beautiful being able to see them grow up and like, I don't know, like yeah, the best way I can describe it is watching your best friend have a baby. Like you get to be a special part of it. You get to be like the cool auntie that was like around, but like I don't have to change any diapers. You know, like but
Do you
no, it's
see, because
beautiful.
we talk about like epigenetics, and that the flip reverse is me carrying somebody who's not DNA related to me. I hope that there are some of my genes expressed onto
Mm.
my child. Do you see like some of yourself in those children, or do you see like sometimes when they smile or something that maybe there's a certain similarity from you that maybe they didn't get from their parents?
I don't know, not necessarily. I feel like both of those kids, like they are not only copy and paste of each other, like it literally just looked like the printer just said copy and paste, but also they look exactly like their parents. Um,
Really?
I would say like maybe even just like some of the like not even necessarily like in ways that we're connected, but like in ways that they were acting like when I was pregnant with them is being reflected on the outside, like them staying up super late and being crazy and just wanted to listen to music. I'm like, well, that's what she was doing in here too. She just wanted to listen to music with me, and that's when she would calm down. So I guess that still
Oh
stays true.
wow. I
So,
love that you can able to like tell those stories about them.
hmm
And I'm assuming like they know about you and know maybe some sort of, I don't know how old they are,
hmm
um,
they're
some
three and
origins
one.
of how they came to you. Yeah, they're
Hmm
still new at it, but
hmm
hopefully that relationship grows. And so I've seen a couple of things like that where people are egg donors and they are still in that child's life, and it's just great to see
Yeah.
that bond that they have, a beautiful bond that they have, and that they just know that it's just like extra loving care that they were able to get from someone else to help get them there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you,
Yeah.
Alex. I loved sitting here talking with you. And usually I ask, like, is there a song or anything? But recently, and I want you to hear it because I want to thank you. You didn't carry anybody for me, you didn't, but I want to thank you for wanting to do such a selfless act because that's really what it is. Anybody who has been pregnant, you know, can say that that is not, even if it's smooth or not, is not an easy task to do. That you're essentially giving up part of your life for nine 9 months, and
Yeah.
that on behalf of every woman who has gone through any type of third party reproduction, we thank women like you because of you we are able to be moms. And so I've been doing some little and hopefully you can share this with the mom, but I've been working on some children's songs And one is to thank our helpers that helped get us here. So I'm gonna play it. Let me see if I can find it. So it's called Grateful, and I hope you like it.
Thank you.